So I started by taking the sword that I wanted to make the sheath for, which is my cousin's Dark Link sword, and I cut 2 pieces of pellon that would fit over the sword, leaving about an inch all the way around. And then I took some black vinyl, which kind of looks like leather, and I left half an inch all the way around that, cutting the same piece as the pellon. So you put that on the back side, and then fold up the edges and sew them all the way around, just like that. And when you have it on the back side, it looks quite a bit like leather. And so then you just want to sew the 2 pieces together, leaving of course the opening at the top, but sew everything else together. For the sheath designs, I cut all the pieces out of some black craft foam, and I do have a template for this in my patterns vault. And I glued them to some red alova. Anything that looks kind of suede will work. And then I cut those pieces out of the red alova, leaving just a little bit so that it hung over the black craft foam just a smidge. And then I glued all of those pieces onto the sword sheath, one by one, until I had the whole thing done. And you want to make sure that the glue you're using to do this can stick to vinyl so that the pieces don't fall off. So to actually wear it, I sewed 2 pieces of brown alova onto the sheath, and then I took a second-hand belt and just slipped that through the 2 pieces I sewed on. Then I took another half a belt and sewed that to the first belt in the bottom of the sheath so that it can be worn across the shoulder, and because the belt has a buckle, that can just be buckled and unbuckled for a good fit. So for the bracers, I took some pellon, and the template for Link's bracers is in my patterns vault as well. And so I cut those out of the pellon. You might have to adjust them depending on the size of your arms. And then I took some brown distressed fabric. This is just polyester that kind of looks like leather. And I laid the pellon over that, leaving an inch all the way around, and I sewed that right to the distressed fabric to attach it. And so then you just want to cut a few little notches in the indentation so that the pieces can fold behind themselves without getting weird and tight. So you just go like that, but don't glue those in place yet. First you want to make some straps. So roll up a piece of brown distressed fabric and sew that right down the center to make a little strap. And you want to make 4 of those, putting 2 on each side, and sew those to the bracer. And then take some glue, and you just want to glue down all the loose edges that you folded around to give it a nice clean look on the front side. Go all the way around until it's glued all the way around that pellon bracer. So for the designs on the bracer, just cut those out of some craft foam and glue those onto the back side of some more distressed fabric. And then just cut those out just like you did with the pieces for the sheath, leaving a little bit hanging off the edges so that when you flip it over, you don't see the black craft foam underneath. And then just glue all those to the front of the bracers. And then you just want to sew some snaps onto either end of the straps so you can just fit that right around your arm, snap them on and snap them off. For the gloves, I just took a pair of brown knit gloves and cut off the fingertips to make fingerless gloves. Nice thing about these is they don't unravel when you cut them. And then I took a blue shirt and I cut a nice little rectangle out of it that would fit around my arm, or around my cousin's arm actually, but I'm using my arm for the video. So make sure it fits around your arm, and then just sew along the end of it to make a little tube. Flip it right side out, and you should be able to just slip that right over your arm. Then I got a white shirt and a pair of off-white pants from the second-hand shop, and took a little brown pouch and a second-hand belt, and then cut a couple of slits in the back of the pouch. I did 4 of them. You just want to weave the belt through those slits to hold it on there, and then that'll be the little belt pouch that Link has. And so here's my cousin ready to hit the town as Link.